You're listening to Kelly Cutrara on Global News Radio 640 Toronto.
I'm having a lot of conversations with people that are, now we're asking each other, hey, have you been called back to the office? What's your workplace looking at? Even though we are in the middle of a fourth wave, we're looking to get back together because most of us are vaccinated and we're hoping that we can conduct work safely. For a lot of businesses, they have had to continue working throughout this entire pandemic because they have been deemed essential. And so it has been incumbent upon them to take their workers' health into consideration and try and make their workplace as safe as possible during this pandemic as we start to, slowly learn more and more about this virus. And we're learning that it is largely a virus spread by aerosols now. And that's problematic because there's a lot of companies that now have to look into changing their ventilation. Shawn Stone is president of International Electronic Components, Inc. It's in Toronto. And he's been working since the beginning of the pandemic, despite the fact that he's done all he can to keep his workers safe. He has had some COVID outbreaks, and he joins the show to talk about it and what he's done and how he's pivoted to keep work humming along at his business place. Welcome to the show. Good to have you on.
Hi, Kelly. Good morning, and thanks for having me on.
I really think it's great that you gave us a little bit of time because I think a lot of business owners are in the same place you are. We now know that ventilation is going to be a big problem, yet it's almost like the government they've released a guideline on improving ventilation in workplaces, but they're leaving it up to you guys, the employers, to figure out how to implement their recommendations. Do you kind of feel like you're left out in the cold by the powers that be?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I think it's a Canadian way, unfortunately, that we're always dependent on government to help us with everything. And I think it's incumbent upon us as, small business owners and business owners in general that we need to take care of, we have to do what's right for our people first and foremost and not always wait for the government. I mean, with this whole pandemic thing, I don't want to stick up for them too much, but, they've had their hands full.
Certainly have. And so business owners like yourself, you've done everything from implementing masking, mandates to temperature checks and hand sanitizer. You installed plexiglass barriers between cubicles. Despite that, you had some people fall ill with COVID-19 in your workplace, so you had to work around that and worry about your employees, which is tough. If you're a small business owner, your employees are family members. And so it's very worrying to find out that one of your family members are sick. How are you dealing with the ventilation now? Because I think this is something that other business owners could learn from you.
Hey, Kelly, I hooked up with a gentleman on LinkedIn named Larry Gold, and Larry's very knowledgeable about aerosol and airborne COVID issues, ventilation, what have you. So Larry was kind enough to bring some experts in and do an audit in our facility and help us figure out how to mitigate some of the risks of COVID. And some of that is a number of HEPA filters in a real tight space that we have in the office. They actually audited the HVAC system. And then in addition to the HVAC, we've got a CO2 monitor, which is not a predicator of COVID, but it will let you know that, hey, you need to open up some windows or create more ventilation in the space because you have too many people talking or what have you. So, Larry's been very helpful. He's very knowledgeable about that.
So have you been making sure that you keep doors open, windows open in your workplace, in the back room, in the warehouse?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. It's been easy in the summertime with the warehouse, of course, so the protocol is we just keep the back door open in the warehouse space. In the office, we still try to limit the amount of people that are in the office space. And we have 5 HEPA filters where we probably only need 2. It's a little bit of overkill, but I'd rather have overkill than underkill is probably not a good way to say it, but I'd rather have overkill than not enough capacity for scrubbing the air.
Right. And how much would a HEPA filter, a small HEPA filter unit run for?
Yeah, don't quote me on this, but I think the 5 units were in about 12K, something like that.
So a bit of an investment there. Does the government give you a break on any of that?
Not that I'm aware of, Kelly. And again, we're not depending on
asking for it. Yep.
As dependent on the government. Try not to be as dependent on the government.
So what are you going to do in the winter when you can't open the door?
Well, I think we'll have to open some windows. And again, we can lean on this CO2 monitor to let us know exactly where we're at. And, we might have to send a couple people home or, what have you. But we'll be watching it closely.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. And I appreciate it, Shawn, because I'm sure there are other people listening. Who's the guy that you reached out to on LinkedIn? Because we might reach out to him as well.
That's Lawrence, a.k.a. Larry Gold. Great guy and really helpful. Really trying to be helpful.
All right, Shawn, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and best of luck.
You do a great job. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Shawn Stone, president of the International Electronic Components, Inc. in Toronto. Business owner helping out other business owners that are dealing with this continuing pandemic. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. It's Global News Radio.
How you work